Oh my gosh, guys, just get ready. Today on Dream Think Do, I've got a guest that turned an idea into a worldwide movement. Luke Mickelson was a businessman in Twin Falls, Idaho, with a solid 18 plus year career. And then he saw a little girl sleeping in a nest and made a close because she had no bed. And that moment hit hard and crystallized a mission for Luke. That was the first time he said, "No kid sleeps on a floor in my town." Luke used his daughter's bunk bed as a template and built 11 beds in his garage with friends and family, and quickly realized this wasn't just a community issue. This was a national one, an international one. And so he launched Sleep and Heavenly Peace, a nonprofit grounded in the power of hands-on service, connection, and joy through empowering an army of volunteers to build beds for kids who need them. Since then, SHP has exploded from a garage project to 350 chapters in 4 different countries, delivering beds to more than 250,000. Get that, 250,000 kids, and clocking in well over 500,000 volunteer hours. Absolutely amazing. We got to talk about this. Luke, welcome to Dream Think Do, buddy.
Well, thanks, Mitch. Wow, that's great.
I tell you what, your first version of that intro was 45 minutes long. So that was the
Done.
shortened version because I could
Okay,
have
gotcha.
I could have kept going. I could have kept going. So
I'm glad you didn't.
I didn't want it to be awkward, right? I love
Yeah,
it. I love it. Well, man, your story is so powerful. What you guys are doing is so needed. It's truly like we have gotten to interview a number of people that like what they saw, they recognized something that most people missed. And I know that's your story, right? Like
mhm.
that's what we call a ministry of noticing. You noticed it. So talk to us about that Genesis moment for you where
Sure.
you realized this need.
The funny thing, Mitch, is, Sleep and Heavenly Peace wasn't born really out of an idea of, you know what, how can I help my community? Oh, let's build beds for kids.
Right.
It was born out of just I heard about in my church group, I heard about a family that the church was helping, with rent and various things and groceries and things of that nature. And in this meeting, it was kind of really a side note of, well, they don't have any beds and they don't do this and they don't do, and I'm like, whoa, 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 wait. And at the time I was a leader of a young men's group. I was called the young men's president. And basically the activity arm that we were running, or the program we were running for the kids, was Boy Scouts. And anyways, I just heard this and I said, "Wait a minute, did you just say the kids don't have any beds? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean by that?" Right?
Yeah.
And come to
Like
find
back
out, yeah,
up.
they're
Like,
just
I mean, that's
yeah,
that
yeah.
I'm sure it was a long list of needs, but
Time
it's like,
out.
wait a second. Yeah.
Yeah, let's did I hear that right? Anyways, kind of hit me like a two by four. I mean, yeah, they didn't have any beds. They were sleeping on the floor, and I'm like, really? Like, I'd never heard of that before. I mean,
Yeah.
we all sleep on the floor at friends' houses and stuff
Right.
like that, but
Right. For a
not as
sleepover.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, not as an ongoing thing. And I said, as an every Boy Scout leader or church leader out there, youth minister, whatever, that's trying to find good activities for
That's
kids that
right.
don't
Keep it
involve
busy.
games, don't involve screens, it's a challenge nowadays. I'll tell
Yeah.
you what. And I thought, oh, perfect. Here's a great opportunity. Get Xbox controller out of these boys'
Yeah.
hands back when Xbox was awesome. I don't even know if
Right.
it's good anymore. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Exactly.
let's get a drill, let's get a sander, let's get a hammer in their
Yep.
hands, and let's teach them something. And I wasn't a stranger to tools,
Right.
although, I'm gonna lose my guy card here. I actually had to use my wife's tools at the time, but
I love that.
but
Absolutely.
but I said, here, we're gonna teach it's an activity,
Yep.
it's fun, it's
Yep.
meaningful, and, we'll figure it out. And so I said, I kinda raised my hand. I said, "Tell you what, me and the boys," and I think I'm trying to remember, I had about 12 or 15, something like that in the group, and I said, "Me and the boys, we're gonna take care of that." And, being scouts, we got together. I already knew what I wanted to do, but
Sure.
as a Boy Scout leader, you want to sit down with your boys and say, "Hey, this is the problem.
Yep.
What do you guys want to do? You want to figure it out." And, there were suggestions of, "Hey, I think we can get one donated. Or let's go buy one. Let's go raise money." And again, I'm sitting there, those are great ideas, but I want to teach them something. Right.
Yep.
And so I said, "Tell you what, why don't you guys come over to my house this Wednesday, and we'll have a project. We're going to build this thing." Right. Had no idea what I was doing. So I went home that night and just excited, ran down. My daughter had a bunk bed. And so I'm measuring this. And,
Yeah.
I had a couple of things I had to keep in mind. 12-year-old scouts,
Right.
right?
You
number one.
wanted them to keep their fingers, right?
Fingers, yeah, exact. Keep their fingers and keep their, keep their senses. Better have some sort of donuts or treats afterwards if this
Right?
is gonna
Absolutely. Or
go.
pizza, gotta have it.
Exactly, yep,
Yeah.
exactly. I gotta keep them entertained, and I gotta keep it very simple, right?
Yeah.
So, I made a few alterations, making sure, like, the wood that we used was very simple, the cuts and things of that nature were very
Yeah.
simple. And so they came over and we went to town. The cool thing, what I didn't realize, again, no, no screens, no controller. It was just us and wood and tools. And
Yeah.
I was worried that it wasn't gonna be what I was hoping it was gonna
Yeah,
be,
like
right?
exciting and
Yeah,
captivating and all those things.
e
Yeah.
exactly, right? But, God bless us, it turned into a fun activity, and they came back the next couple of days because we had to finish it. Took us a long time.
Sure,
Um,
right? Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, but they had so much fun, and I know it's because they knew what it was going to.
Yep.
They knew what it was going for, and so I was just thrilled. Mission accomplished in my
Yep.
book. You almost you're going and you're doing this for children that are sleeping on
Yep.
the floor. But at almost the initial point was I just wanted these kids to feel the joy of service and the joy of
Yep.
giving back and to appreciate what they had.
Right.
You got a bed for crying out loud, and
Right. It's a big deal.
yeah, so when we were all said and done, and we had to deliver the bed, and I do this in my garage. I'm trying to remember, it was just after Thanksgiving time, so it wasn't exactly, and I'm in Idaho, so it wasn't exactly warm
Yeah.
outside, and my garage
Exactly.
is not insulated, so I had to clean my garage so I could park my cars in there, get them out of the
Yeah.
snow, so I didn't get to go on the delivery, but
Wow.
next day, they told us, the kids and their parents that went and the other leaders that went just said how awesome it was, right?
Yeah.
And so I was both excited and also also bummed because
Yeah.
I didn't get to see that part of it. Um, and then, so that, the day was over, it was great, and I go home and at the time, and I like to share this, Mitch, because at the time, um, I was 35, and I think everybody in some way or another goes through some sort of, I guess they call them a midlife crisis, but whatever you want to call it. Yeah, for me personally, I had a job been working there for many, many years. I liked it. It wasn't like it was a bad job. I was getting paid very well.
Yeah.
It's just there was something missing, right? There
Yep.
was just something like I feel like I can offer more. I mean, I coached, I played sports, I filled my time up. It wasn't like I just sat on the couch,
Right, right. Yeah, catching
Uh,
up on Netflix, like you were
yeah.
doing stuff. Yeah.
Correct, and probably the biggest thing is I was going through this faith crisis. I mean, I grew up very religious. I served a mission for 2 years for my
Yeah.
church. I, knocked doors and I found out what I love doing is talking to people. That's why I became a salesman, is I
Yeah.
just love talking to people. I love to get to know them and know what they do and what they like and their history, their life and things of that nature. And I served in Texas, by the way. There's 2 things in Texas you don't disagree on: politics and religion. And being a missionary, yeah, you're really diving
That
into
was
one of
a
those things
stretch,
hard.
right? Absolutely.
But it
Yeah.
was it at least in it brought me to a level where I knew how important life was, and I knew how
Yep.
important a purpose was. And to break it down, I just didn't feel like I was fulfilling a purpose that I wanted or that I felt
Yeah.
fulfilled by.
Kind of that
And so
bigger
here I
goal.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, here I was sitting in this, and I'd felt like this for probably several years. And here I was, it was just really almost depressing, right?
Yeah.
I was just sitting in this, and here comes this bed build, and instantly just filled my soul with joy. I was helping boys, I was helping the youth, I was helping kids get off the floor that, a
Yep.
situation that was terrible. I didn't know that that was a big situation or how big it was, but
Right.
and it just filled my heart. And so when it was all said and done, life creeps in and you kind of get back in the same rut. And I didn't want to do that, Mitch. I just felt so good about this, and it gave me some direction and some purpose. But life goes on.
Yep.
Well, I was sitting on the couch, and my kids were watching TV. We always watch Big Bang back in the day. Anyways, a commercial came on, and it was about, I can't remember if it was an Xbox controller or an Xbox, something with Xbox, and they're like,
Something.
"Oh,
Yeah.
Dad, I could read it on their face, Christmas time, they're gonna ask for this, we're not gonna get it, they already know that," and it just hit me perfectly. I just, I just said in my mind, I'm thinking, "Gosh dang it, you kids, we just got done building and delivering a bed to kids that don't have any, you got a bed, you don't need another Xbox, right? And I was so happy when during the project and what we did,
Yep.
all these things culminated into what I call tiny moments.
Yep.
And we all have these. We all have these little moments in life where we're inspired to do something or inspired to help someone or do this. And man, I'm just as guilty as everybody else. You know, you dismiss them,
Yep.
you use them away with I don't have enough time or I'm not good enough or I've never done that before, you know, blah blah blah. Too busy. I remember I had to make an internal conscious decision, and I'm grateful for the Lord who said, you know, He put me in this situation and put this perfect storm in front of me that I'm like, this 3 inches off this couch that I got to jump off of. It's a big 3 inches, but by gosh, I'm going to do it. And
Yeah.
so I stood up, didn't say anything, just stood up and started walking to the garage. And everybody's like, Dad, where are you going? We're
What's
still,
going on?
we're still watching. Yeah. And I said, you know what? I'm going to build another bed and you're going to come out and help me. And you know what? Again, I was hoping for the best, and we had such a great time. I mean, I've got pictures of my daughter in her little dress drilling holes, and my son, who was 10 at the time, she was 6, 10 at the
Wow.
time. They're holding boards while dad screwed this in or hammered this, and, you know, it was just a great time. It took us a while to build another bunk bed, but it didn't matter. We were there
Right?
together, right, as a family, and again, like the Boy Scouts, I wanted my kids to appreciate what they had,
Yep.
to but more importantly, to enjoy, you know, the act of serving and serving other people. I
Yep.
loved it. You
Yep.
know, it recharged my batteries, and you know, and I told them, and I've told them their whole life, look, I can tell you, I can teach you, I can show you videos, but until you do it,
Yep.
it's just not the same. And
Yep.
so we did that, and it was awesome. And so when we're all said and done, here's another bunk bed. Again, the SHP, Sleeping on the Peace, wasn't created because we knew there was a need there. We were
Yep.
created because the need that I saw was my kids. Yeah, there was one family I had heard of, but
Yeah.
that was it, right? And
Yeah.
so here I was with this other bunk bed that my family and I made, had no idea what to do with it. And so it was recommended to me and say, "Hey, why don't you throw it on Facebook?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You want me to put a free bed on Facebook Marketplace?"
Have you done that before? We got to risk murder here.
Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
find crazies coming on. We may have got a little bit of that, but,
Yeah.
you know, basically, I was like, "Hey, me and my family built this bunk bed. We
Yep.
wanna give it to a family that had kids sleeping on the floor." I wanted to give it to a child, you know,
Yep.
and so if as a Christmas present from my family to yours, I'm no carpenter, but it's okay, you know, it's
Yeah.
it's safe.
Yeah. Right.
Uh,
Exactly. It's solid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's solid. And, you know, so let me know. And the coolest thing happened. You know, I had friends that I hadn't talked to for 20 years, right? I had people in the community I'd never met, and
Yeah.
they were like, "How can I help? Do you need mattresses? Do you need sheet sets?" And at that time, they're like, "Hey, do you need Christmas toys? Do you need food? Blah, blah, blah." And I remember going, "Man, this is amazing," right?
Yeah.
And we also started hearing some of the stories of the situations that the
Yeah.
kids were
The kids
and
needed.
yeah, and
Yeah.
one particular friend of mine said, "Hey, listen, I've got a family." It's my Haley story, I call it. Haley's a 6-year-old girl that has never slept on a bed. She slept in the backseat of her mom's car her whole life and probably, you know, couch dived back
Yeah.
and forth friends once in a while. And it was just perfect. I'm like, "Okay, great. This is the situation that
Yeah.
was exactly what I want my kids to see and
Yep.
exactly for me." There was just something that was
Yep.
unique
It
about
just
it.
connected. Yep.
It connected, yeah. And so we delivered the bed. And the cool story is, they were about half an hour away from us in a town down the road, and we showed up, and you understand this family was just coming out of homelessness, right? And I tell everybody, you know, I've seen homelessness before, I've seen
Yeah.
poverty, but I'd never put on the goggles of looking at it through the eyes of a 6-year-old, right?
Right.
Because that's why we're there to serve it. It wasn't
Yep.
it wasn't really necessarily the whole family. We were there laser focused on getting Haley a bed. And so when we walked in, uh the fact that there was nothing in the house, there was the only thing that in the house was a milk carton, you know, and it had a hot plate on it with a can of soup, and that was it. And
Wow.
to look at that in the mindset of what a 6-year-old's life is like
Yep.
really shook me. I was like,
Yep.
"Oh my gosh, like, there's not even a couch, there's no TV for cartoons, there's
Right.
no table for you know, cereal in the morning." It would just you know, you start thinking of the life of a 6-year-old. And this little Haley, you wouldn't have known. She was just so excited and so bubbly and fun
Yeah.
because she finally Mitch, she finally had a house
Right?
that didn't have
And a
4 wheels.
bed that was coming, like, she'd never slept
Correct.
on a bed, like, that's
Yeah, it was,
amazing.
and so she was excited to take us back into her bedroom. Funny story, when I was on Micro
Yeah,
Dirty Jobs, everybody loves Micro. He has a podcast, and when I was on it, he came up with, he said something that stuck with me forever. He says, "Luke, I've been thinking about your charity." He said, "When kids don't have a bed in their bedroom, then it's just a room."
yeah,
And I'm like, "That's exactly right. It's not a bedroom because there's no bed in it."
right?
And that's exactly when I walked into Haley's room, it was just another room. Could have
Yep,
been a hallway for all I cared.
yep.
You can imagine there's tears on the carpet, and the
Oh, sure.
wallpaper, was ripped, and there wasn't doors on the closet. And
Yeah,
but the most stunning, shocking, take your breath away view was this nest, you called it,
yep,
this pile of
yep.
clothes in the corner, and that's what little Haley slept on.
Amazing.
That was the first time I experienced it, and to experience it into, think about it, when you walk in this room and you see that pile of clothes, for weeks or however long they've been
Yep,
there, that's what she's sleeping on,
yep.
right? And I'm like, it was almost overwhelming, right? And so we started bringing the pieces of the bed in, start putting them together, and you could see Haley at first was like, "What is
What
this?
is this thing? You just got a bunch of wood, like, what's
Who are
the
these
deal?"
strangers?" And
Yeah,
then all of
exactly.
a sudden,
Is my situation getting better or not? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. As soon as she realized it was a bed, she just erupted, right?
Wow.
And I have always had a bed my entire life, so I don't know what that feeling's like,
Right, yeah,
but I know what it looks like.
yeah.
And when Haley erupted and came and hugged us and then hugged the bed and started kissing the bed, I mean, I lost it. It was rough. And I'm a big, strong,
Come on, yeah, right, exactly, I
sports
don't
guy.
folds
I
for
don't
crying out
cry.
loud.
And here I am I'm holding it back,
Yeah,
and if that wasn't enough, I look up at her mom. And I was raised by a single mom.
yeah,
I
wow,
know every single tear that was coming off that lady's cheek.
yeah,
And my mom had 5 kids. I don't know how she did
wow.
it. And that just hit me hard. And it's actually something I wasn't planning for. I wasn't
Right.
prepared.
Well, you were just doing the process, and that's what I love so
Yeah.
much about your story too, and that's one of the things with Dream Think Do is I think a lot of people when people hear the word dream, they often think, well, whatever I do, if it's gonna be big, it's gotta be something I've been dreaming about my whole life, right? And what I love about your story is, like, you weren't going, "Gosh, how could I build beds?" When you were 8 years old, sitting somewhere like, "Gosh, someday I hope I get to build beds for kids," right?
Yeah.
That wasn't even on your radar. But
Yep.
what I love is you saw a need, initially the need was, hey, let's get a program. Let's get an activity for some scouts,
Yeah.
and you just followed that need into what became a mission, right? And I love too that I think a lot of people are like, they almost feel like they got to rush the process to say,
Oh,
well, like, if I do this, does that mean I have to quit my job and do this full time? Like, no, you just kept looking for that next opportunity. What was that next thing? And for you, the first opportunities was a scouts project, and the next opportunity was doing something as a family and getting some perspective for your kiddos. And then the next thing was Haley and being able to make a room into a bedroom. Like, I love that you allowed it to happen, and that's not to say you weren't working, right? Doing
oh,
some hard stuff, but at
right.
the
Oh, yeah.
same time, and you also, let's just be clear, you now do this full time, right?
Yep.
And you
Yep.
did that, what, in 2018, I think you switched
I
or
I went full-time in 2020.
and 2020, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I love about that though is, like, this started and you didn't immediately quit your day job, right? You let this thing grow. You let this thing play out, and I love that. I think that is so important because I think a lot of
Well,
people feel like they gotta either have dreamed about it their whole life or have the perfect plan
mhm.
or have it all figured out before they start, and you just started.
Mitch, you nailed it. That's why I say tiny moments. Sleep in heavenly peace wasn't created because you're right. I didn't sit here and think, I'm going to create a charity that builds beds all across the world. No, I mean, it started out with, you know what? There's a problem that I have. My
Yeah.
boys, I need to get them. I need to teach them something. That's my responsibility as a coach. It's my responsibility as a
Yep.
spiritual leader, blah, blah, blah. Here's a great opportunity. Boom, that happened. And it ended.
Yep.
The next thing was, well, okay, I could do the same thing for my kids. I want my kids
Yep.
to have the same thing. It happened, it ended.
Yep.
Okay, now there's Haley. Now the need, the situation, the obstacle that I had no idea my life was gonna change presented itself, right?
Yeah.
And I tell people, none of that happened or would have happened had I not at least started doing little steps and taking those
Yep.
tiny moments and acting on them. And you know what? I tell people, like, you act on a tiny moment. It might not turn into something huge, right? 0.9% of the time it doesn't,
Yep.
but it's stair steps to what
Yep.
possibly could be. And maybe the biggest thing that'll come from it is the change in you.
Yep.
The transformation that happens in yourself. And I public speak. I speak about what I call the TBF framework, the 2x4 framework. It's kind of fun.
I love it.
But it really talks about transforming, building, and then flourishing from that, and how those processes and those steps. We're too busy wanting the transformation. We focus so much on, I got to change and I want to do
Yep.
something. I do, blah 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 blah. Which you need that, but really the build process,
Yeah.
the action is
Yep.
where the emphasis on this transformation process needs to be made and focused in on, because that's really where the rubber meets the road. and
Yeah.
and so again, I'm sitting in this Haley's bedroom, right? This
Yep.
mom crying, and the thought didn't come into my head that, oh my gosh, I'm going to build this charity.
Right, we're gonna
You know?
build 250,000
Yeah,
beds, right?
yeah,
Like,
no,
that
no
was
kidding.
not the light bulb that went off over your head.
No, no, it was merely, we had about 30-minute drive home, and I
Yep.
remember me and my buddy Jordan, we drove home and really didn't say much to each other. And
That's
I remember
fair.
thinking on
Yeah.
the way home, look, I'm a farm kid from Idaho. I love hunting. I love fishing. I love college sports on Saturday. I love all this stuff, coaching and stuff. I mean, a snap of my fingers, all of that changed.
Yep.
What I just experienced filled my heart and solved so many internal problems of myself
Yep.
that I knew 35 years old, I knew I've been searching for it. We got home and I remember I turned over and I looked and I said, you know what? No kid's gonna sleep on the floor in my town. It just ain't gonna happen. And I mean, I was almost mad about it. And
Yeah.
what I
Well,
didn't know was what those words really meant. I didn't know
yeah.
that child bedlessness, although not a real word, is actually a real big problem.
Huge.
And so we started building beds. We actually ended up building 11 bunk beds, or 20. There's actually 21 full single beds
Jeez.
that year. And it started out as just a family Christmas project. I mean,
Right.
that's all this
Well,
was. There's no charity. I'm in a
yeah,
full-time job. I
exactly.
wasn't.
I don't like, you don't have to figure out nonprofits. I just need some wood, right? Like, it's like, okay, like, but that's one of my, as I was reading about your story, I watched some of the videos and things like that. I wondered, because I love, you're exactly right. It's the tiny moments. I think a lot of people are like, I need the full plan before I start. It's like, nah, this is a series of tiny moments. But I'm guessing at some point in the early tiny moments, you realize, like, obviously you started to realize there was a bigger need than just Haley. Oh my gosh. Okay. Maybe just bigger than our town, all those things. What was one of those tiny moments where maybe it was that tipping point of saying, okay, this is not just a weekend project I'm going to do once in a while. I actually need to put some structure to this. I need to, because I know you had people start, coming and saying, hey, I'll help you put a couple things together, 21 buds in that year, all that. When, like, talk to me about the tipping point of realizing, like, okay, this isn't just a passion. The next step in this journey is putting structure around it, maybe even starting a nonprofit. Talk to me about that tiny moment or that decision point.
You bet. There was several that led up to that, in different aspects. As we delivered those beds and shared them on social media, what we were doing. I mean, I found two problems. Child
Yeah.
bedlessness is a real thing,
Yep.
and not just bedlessness. I mean, we're talking kids sleeping on crates, sleeping on hard cement floors and basements. Idaho's not a warm place in the
Nope.
wintertime,
Nope.
and so
And it's hot in
you
the
know,
summer, right? Like, it's
yeah,
the whole combo. You got it all. Yeah.
and so those were big moments. The fact that the community that I lived in just erupted. So many people wanted to come and help. I mean, I had friends that I hadn't seen for 20 years come over to my house and help stain. I mean, I had friends, people I'd never met, text me and say, "Hey, do you mind if I come over and screw in some screws with you tonight?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Come on over. I don't know who
Yeah.
you are." It was an eye opening moment to me.
Yep.
But probably one of the biggest things that you want to talk about a single moment. I remember me and Jordan, it was the next year. So it was
Mm.
2013 because that first build, that first season was 12. And we only did it at Christmas time, right? So
Oh, wow.
2013, it was October-ish, something like that.
Yeah.
Me and Jordan were planning on, he wanted to do it in his town in Boise. He came down and helped me that first year. He wanted to do it in
Interesting.
Boise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Hey, I got the tools. We'll do one down here.
My
Don't come
wife
up and
does.
do it." And so we're sitting here having lunch and, talking, getting excited,
Yeah.
planning, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden we look and here's this lady standing next to our table, and you kind of look up and you're like, "Can I help you?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Hey, I apologize. I eavesdropped your entire conversation. I listened to the whole thing, and here's all the money in my wallet." And I remember just thinking, "Did that just happen?" Like,
Yeah.
and I remember looking at Jordan, we were just speechless, right? And
Yeah.
a light turned on going, "Okay, this is affecting other people as
Yeah.
much as it affects me,"
Yeah.
right? And the fact that they're taking it as serious as I'm
Yep.
taking it. And
Yep.
that's when I knew, okay, if we really want to make a dent in this, and we really want to reach as many kids as we want, then we have to make a process where other people can do this in their own hometown. Again, this wasn't a charity. This was just a Christmas project. In fact,
Yeah.
at first, someone says, "What are you going to call this thing?" And I said, "Well, I got the perfect name for it. Beds for Babes." No, that
It
I
didn't
looked at me
make
and
it
said,
through? They
"Nope,
didn't make it through?
it didn't make the first cut." Let's see.
And please, listeners, don't Google beds for babes.
I tell people, not a good Google search.
Right. Do not. Keep the safe search on. Yeah, let's keep it going.
So,
Uh,
and being at Christmas time,
right.
everybody loves Silent Nights, one of the greatest hymns, and Sleep and Emily Peace just really emanated what we wanted these kids to do, and it
Yeah.
just fit perfectly. And
That's
so,
amazing.
but here we are, building beds on around Christmas time,
Yeah.
delivering for Christmas. This is the Christmas presents, blah blah blah. Well, what happened is a lot of companies wanted to help, wanted their employees to be a part of this and blah blah blah,
Yeah.
but they couldn't donate any money because we were financing it all ourselves, and it wasn't cheap. Thanks to Lowe's, they really helped out, but they wanted to donate, and we weren't a nonprofit. So then
Ah,
I set off down the rabbit hole of what is a nonprofit, how do you set one up, how do you run it, because we had no idea. But you know
right.
what? Like you said, action, little tiny steps, build this plane as we fly it, as we call it.
Yeah,
And so,
and that's
so
what is amazing is you have done that, and we do I joked with you before we hit record that I do a fair amount of research, just this side of stalker laws. But one of the things when we talk, when we have the opportunity to potentially talk to somebody like you, we do a deep dive, especially if there's a nonprofit involved. We're like, hey, is this legit? Like, I don't want to point people to a nonprofit that's a
right,
scam. And I mean,
right.
you have done it well. Like the ratings on your organization, like I saw time and time again, this is a safe organization. This is an organization that manages their money well. All those things, which is amazing. So well done on that. Cause I
Well,
mean, that is not an easy thing to do.
it's not.
Which I like. I want to dive into because I love the stories. I love how we've talked about how this flowed, right? You just kept taking those steps. But I also want to speak to you because with Dream Think Do, we're all about helping people dream bigger, think better, and do more of what they are put on the planet to do. But we're real and we're raw. Like I think there are some people that talk about dreams and go, and when I started on my dream, then the clouds parted and the rainbows showed down, and we've only had butterflies. It's amazing, right? Like I know you have had like the woman standing next to you, eavesdropping and saying, "Here's the money in my purse." Like that's amazing. And I know you've had incredible opportunities and support from sponsors and Mike Rowe coming and doing what they did, all of that. Like you've had some really amazing things happen. But I know with something like this, you've also probably had some low points. You've
Oh yeah.
you've had some times where you had to really decide, should we just shelve this thing? Like, is this thing done or is this thing worth it anymore? Talk to me about one of those tiny moments. Talk to me
You know,
about a time where you had to double down and decide whether you're going to keep it going or not.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you were talking about how people think, I'm on my dream and it's butterflies and rainbows, and I'm thinking, for me, it was like rainstorms and thunderclouds. And
And a bucket that you had to use for a bathroom, right?
oh yeah, it's not a cakewalk,
Yeah.
and oftentimes I now, because I do some nonprofit consulting, and, "Oh, we wanna be where you wanna be," and I'm like, "Are you sure? Let
That's
me
right.
let me tell you what you gotta go through."
This
And
should come with a caution label. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
exactly. Don't crack the seal until you're ready.
yes, exactly.
It's great. I don't want anybody to take the wrong approach or the wrong
No, but
tune here,
it's real.
but it
This
is
is real.
work. It is work,
Yeah,
absolutely. We spent many, many a day, many a night, after hours. Our chapter presence are the same. After hours, working hard. I remember early on there was another gentleman that was my best friend at the time, and he was helping me with this, and he caught the vision. But as we started, I wanted to build double every
yeah,
year.
yeah,
Mostly probably because I was getting the stories. They were coming to me of
yeah,
these kids, right? And again, I tell people about it, but until you see it yourself, you don't get the same feel or the same
yep.
passion. He's like, you know what? Why don't we just keep it? He wanted to keep this within the families and
Yeah, let's
it's
contain
Christmas
this a little
project.
bit. Let's not let
Yeah,
this get
yeah, he
crazy.
he had a
Yeah,
he had a job that he was doing, and he loved hunting and stuff, and it just hit me differently, I
yep,
guess, and there was just no way. Just no way I was gonna do that. I'm not wired that way. I'm
yep.
entrepreneurial. I was trying to figure out how to do things better and quicker and faster, and so there was a turning point there where it was like, listen, I get that you want this to like level out, right?
Yeah,
I'm not there. And you're welcome to stay there, but
yeah,
I'm not there.
yeah.
Right. And so me and luckily my buddy Jordan, he was on the same boat as me. And that's when we just started going. In fact, it was 2015 that we realized and we're getting so many inquiries about building and delivering beds. We said, okay, listen, we're not just going to build at Christmas time anymore. We're going to
Wow.
build all the time, right?
Yeah,
Which I had a full time job, and I share this story. This is the biggest pivoting point for me.
yeah.
My boss came up to me, very supportive of Sleep and Emily piece at first, but then I was executive vice president, I was gonna buy the company, I was gonna do all this stuff, but
Yep,
here was this side project
yep.
that I was taking all my vacation times to do and all this stuff, and he came up to me, he's like, "You know what? I'm a little concerned that this
Mm,
is taken away from your work, your regular work." And I didn't lie to him, I was like, "Yeah, I mean, it is, it's taken a lot of focus and I didn't feel like my performance was showing that, but there's no doubt it was taking a
right.
lot of focus." Well, the beginning of 2007, this came up, and I said, "Tell you what, yeah, you're right. I got to provide for my family. These are tough decisions, right?
Right.
And so I remember I went to Jordan, my some of my friends, and said, "Hey, listen, I've got to step back. I've got to slow down. That this is affecting my job and my
It's
livelihood
impacting.
now."
Yeah,
That lasted 2 days. I couldn't.
yeah,
I didn't feel good about it, and I honestly, Mitch, I felt this hole grow. It was like opposite Grinch, right? It was
yeah.
like my heart just started shrinking, and luckily, I'm like, "Nope, I'm not going back down that hole.
Wow.
I'm not gonna live there."
Yep.
And so we try to keep it contained as much as we can, but just a few months later, again, I was in his office, and he said, "It's time. You need to decide. Are you gonna stay employed here buy
Wow.
this company, and it was a multi-million dollar company. My career and path was set, or are you going to have to quit if you're going to stay do this Sleep and Emily peace thing. And I tell people that seems like a hard decision, and I guess it was a hard decision,
Yeah.
but also it wasn't.
Yep. When you know, it still takes guts, still takes courage, but that wasn't a blind leap of faith. That was one more step of faith, right? All those tiny moments were leading up to that, which is awesome. And I do not want this conversation to end. We could go 4 hours for real, but I want to manage, and mind your time, all of that. So got a couple more questions. One of which is for that person that I know I'm a recovering perfectionist. So I speak to recovering perfectionists all the time. And perfectionists, we want to have a plan. We want to know it's going to work out, all those things. But oftentimes, if you're listening to Dream, Think, Do, these are globe changers. These are people who are watching for the needs that are out there. They're watching for people that need help or opportunities or the product that needs to be invented or the solution that needs to be uncovered for that person that maybe they've noticed something. Maybe they've had that first bunk bed experience, or maybe they've even had a Haley moment and they're wondering, maybe they're on the fence of going, okay, should I take another couple of steps or should I play it safe and shut this thing down? What would you say to that person that's maybe wrestling with that taking that next step, looking for that next tiny moment or just playing it safe and shutting things down?
Great question. The easiest answer is it a passion of yours? Would you do this whether you got paid or not? And I know that's difficult, especially when you're dealing with products and, it's not a heartfelt passion,
Right.
right? And maybe your passion is you want to create success for yourself and money is a way that looks like I look at success differently, um but if it's a passion that you can get behind, and passion comes in various forms, right?
Yep.
My passion is I want to help the kids with beds. Maybe
Yeah.
your passion is I want to provide a filter for drinking water in Africa, or
Right.
or just improve, I don't know, brake pads for cars as a
Yeah.
Tommy Waymer. Sorry.
That's exactly.
But
I heard Tommy Boy. I heard
yeah, I
it.
gotcha. No, yeah, we're children of the '80s. It has to be something, and I advise people in nonprofits all the time. People come in and say, "Hey, I wanna do this, I wanna do that." I'm like, "Okay, would you do this for free for 10 years?" Because I had to.
Yep. Yep.
It wasn't about money. It never is about money. It was about helping as many kids as I could with the time that I have.
Yep.
And it's if you're in it for the long haul, I guess, because it's more than just about making money. It's more about than just the product, but about the service and making life better. And then I think, yeah, you continue it down the road, right?
Yep.
I think if it's something that you're really passionate about, right?
Yeah.
And in my opinion, passion has to exceed the wealth that you want from it, right?
Yep. It's
Because I
true.
think that can fly away pretty easily. Because there's a lot of times, oh my gosh, in SHP, there's a lot of times that, oh man, I mean, I worked 10 years for free. I
Yep.
mean, we're talking every night, every weekend. And I did it because my currency I was getting was seeing the faces of these kids.
Yep.
And it was very easy. Easy currency, easy fulfillment, hard work, sweaty,
Sure.
dusty, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it makes a difference, and that's what I say too. It's that sometimes people are like, "Oh, I don't know that I'm passionate enough about something," and I'll say, "Well, we'll dig into that. Maybe it's uncovering some passions, but also what pisses you off? Like what's interesting I've found, especially with coaching people for 20 years plus, is that sometimes passions change, but what pisses us off generally doesn't, right? Like I love how what even you talked about with the Haley experience was there was a part of you that was passionate and there was a part of you that was pissed. Like,
Pissed off. Oh yeah.
we need to fix this. This cannot stand, right? Like, there's no kid gonna sleep on the floor in my town, right? And I love that. And so sometimes it's mining those things that tick you off. What do you know needs fixed in the world? And sometimes it's creating a nonprofit, and sometimes it's just seeing that one person, helping that next person, or bringing a solution to that next problem. And you never know where it might lead, but holding
What about
loosely to the outcome.
future from frustration? I mean, that that
Yeah.
that that happens all the time. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, so I've started and sold and stopped and whatever
Yeah.
dozens and dozens of businesses. I like growing things and building things, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I love the saying. I think it's Abraham Lincoln who filed bankruptcy 3 different times, right? Because he's trying something, and
Yep.
and there's no harm in trying something, even if it fails. Guess what? You learn something. The biggest thing is you gotta outpass your patience,
Yeah.
and sometimes you can't.
That's
If you don't
great.
have the patience for it, then it's probably not the passion that you think you need, and that's really probably my biggest advice.
I love it. I love it. So I don't want to end the conversation. We're going to have you back, Luke, because this is
Love it.
awesome. But as Dream Think doers, I know you've fired them up. I know they're excited about what you're doing. I'm sure it's inspiring new ideas and bigger dreams as well. But for those Dream Think doers that want to know how they can be a part of what's next for Sleep and Heavenly Peace, because I know things are growing, you're reaching more communities, starting more chapters, all those things. What are some ways that Dream Think doers can get involved?
Thanks for asking. Yes, if this is something, I tell Mitch, my purpose of being on these podcasts, number one, is to raise awareness. And so I ask all of your listeners, please understand child bedlessness is a real thing, not a real word, but a real thing. There's no statistics other than what we have come up with. I'm a farm kid from Idaho. I don't do statistics.
That's right.
But I will tell you, it's greater than 3% of the total population. You live in a town, 100,000 people. There's 3,000 kids right now in your town, maybe across the street, that are sleeping on pallets, floors, sharing beds,
Yeah.
couches. I mean, I promise you, it is there. Believe it. So your first thing that you can do is help out with is just raise awareness. Let people know that this is a problem and that there is a solution. Sleep in Heavenly Peace is one of those solutions that can provide beds for kids that are 13 to 17 years old that need it. The second thing is if this is something that you want to get involved with, something that you got free time in your hand, you want to feel like you want to give back, I promise you the fulfilling feelings that you get from service is huge, and fulfilling and building and delivering beds to kids, at least I'm biased here in my opinion, is the most fulfilling thing you'll ever do. So find your local chapter. You can do that by going to our website, shpbeds plural.org, shpbeds.org. You'll find your chapter, contact them saying, "Hey, I listened to this crazy guy from Idaho named Luke. He said, I'm excited. I want to come help."
He
And
gave me
trust me,
permission to come. Yeah.
yeah, let me come. And they'll put you to work. I promise you. If there's not a chapter close by and this really is something you want to do, we have created a training program for people to start chapters in your own area. We have people that don't know anything about running a business, don't know anything about a nonprofit, and they're a successful building hundreds or thousands of beds for kids. You can do that. You can start a chapter of your own. We make sure that you're not a failure in this. We will help you succeed. And we have this set up financially, supportively to be successful. And of course, the last thing is, and I say it the last thing because it is very important, but it's not the main focus. And that is, of course, we need to raise money. We're a nonprofit. We work off nonprofits. 90 cents of your dollar stays in the community that you live in. Mitch, I'm a farm kid from Idaho. I value a dollar.
Yep.
My mom raised 5 kids on her own. When I said, okay, we're starting a charity, this isn't going to be some big pie in the sky charity where you donate a dollar and you have no idea where it goes.
Yep.
We take 10%. That's it. 10% to manage. It's a company, so you got
Yep.
overhead, you got things you
Yep.
got to do, right?
Yep. You got a
That's
team.
all. We take 10%.
Yep.
90 cents stay. So we manage and control those funds. So when you donate your dollar, you can donate to whatever chapter, wherever you got a sister that or a friend or whatever in Miami or Tallahassee or California, whatever, you can donate and 90 cents goes to that chapter. So we appreciate that donation. This is how we fund it.
Yep.
We build you read a little older post. We've actually built over 300, almost 320,000 beds now. And we build this year is 90,000 beds. 90,000 beds.
That's amazing.
Just mattresses alone.
Can you
That's like
imagine?
$9 million.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not cheap. So we value those donations, and those are the ways that you can give back. And the last thing is, whether it's SHP, whether it's helping dogs or helping vets or helping the ocean, whatever suits your fancy, whatever pulls at your heartstrings, go do something. Go help us make our lives and the lives of your community better by being involved in doing something.
I love it. Thanks, brother. So good. I appreciate you. Love what you guys are doing. And we will put all the information in the show notes to make all of that easier as well. But I just love it. Love the conversation and can't wait to have you back, man.
Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it.